Hello, everyone. So it gives me extreme pleasure to be part of this wonderful program, and thanks, gratefulness to all the organizers for inviting me to be a part of this amazing session. So here today, what I wish to share is slightly different from the routine. Um, Being an author, being a doctor, pediatrician, neonatologist, I actually, it may be strange for you to come with terms to the fact that I'll be talking more on spirituality and mystical musings. So these are just excerpts, or these are just wonderful take-home messages, wonderful gatherings from the scriptures, the ancient Vedic scriptures, and in the context of motherhood, the mysticism of motherhood, which we all actually are delving into, and we all wish to learn from. So this whatever I share in my today's presentation is not something cooked from my own side, or something which I have invented on my own. It is rather the ancient wisdom of the sages and the seers of the most ancient religion in the world, called the Sanatana Dharma. And the Sanatana Dharma has a tremendous research into motherhood, how the soul travels, how a baby is born, the nature of the conditioning of the baby, the reason for babies being born. So today I'll share just a few musings on motherhood. So the mystical musings on motherhood. So it's a journey of transformation, because once you discover spirituality in your life, you will immediately be transformed. So conventionally, the modern biology or the modern medicine considers birth still to be a physical phenomenon. Physical means in the sense of material, whatever can be seen and observed in the form of ovum or sperm. So purely biological, let's call it a purely biological phenomenon. Modern medicine has still come to terms, still got a lot of distance to travel before they discover that the biological phenomena is just the outer covering. The core is the spiritual phenomenon. So what happens in IVF, it is considered that just mere meeting of the sperm and the ovum causes pregnancy. This is the biological fact which we study. Interestingly, every meeting of the sperm and the ovum does not cause a pregnancy. Interesting. World's best IVF centers do not deliver something more than one third of success rates. They are the best success rates are hardly 30%. 70% couples, they are still unable to provide them with a baby. Because even when they do an intracytoplasmic sperm injection, it actually pierce the ovum and put the sperm in it. Despite of that, there is no formation of zygote. Despite of that, there is no continuation of pregnancy. Because modern medicine is still stuck at the fact that it's just meeting of two cells and forming of a zygote. Interestingly, our scriptures in the traditional Vedic teachings have a concept of, it's not merely the meeting of the sperm and the ovum, or what we call in Hindi, the vir and the raj. Rather, there are two more things which are required. And those two more things are the mind, the life force, which you call, that's the prana. Prana is the life force, equated to be the breathing pattern of the individual, but the prana is the life force, the vital force. And mind is the man, which is actually carried on from the past lives. So that two are still required. So if the man and the prana, they do not come and they do not descend into the product of conception, then this product of conception cannot survive beyond 7 days. That's the standard teaching of Garbhopanishad, one of the ancient Upanishad, one of the ancient treatise almost 6,000 years back, which says that it's the 7th day. So the 7th day is the time when actually the implantation takes place, as per modern medicine. Interestingly, as per Garbhopanishad, The seventh day is the time when a soul decides to occupy a particular zygote. So if a soul occupies a particular zygote, the life is going to continue in that particular zygote and will eventually grow as a fetus and will be delivered as a child. So this is an interesting takeaway that pregnancy is not only a biological phenomenon. So how do actually babies choose parents? This again contradicts with the modern medical thought of parents choosing babies. So this is one of the common reasons when I take my sessions on parenting. That time I always say that most parents are actually at times have conflict with their children when they think that the child is not displaying some particular behavior, expected behavior, and then they usually confront the child and then they say that we gave you birth. So it's rather it's like you are trying to claim ownership of the child. Strangely enough, the Vedic seers knew that it's not the parents who choose the babies, but rather the babies choose parents. So what is the reason or what is the direction how the babies choose parents? So the soul based on three things: pragya, vasana, sanskar. The three terms may be unusual and unheard by you, but I'll explain them. So pragya means the evolved consciousness. Vasana means deep desire or yearning for something. And sanskar means the impressions on the mind. These are very common words which are used in traditional household in the Indian subcontinent. So pragya means, see, so I'll put it in very simple manner. So imagine I in one of the past lives I turned out to be a very violent person, and I probably go on killing around people and go on destroying lives. Then eventually something happens that makes me think about whatever I have been doing was not in the greater good and something which has been harming my own life. And then eventually I evolve as a human being and I realize that killing is bad. So this leads to my mind takes a message forever that, okay, so killing is not good, one should not kill. So this message is such a deep message on the soul's soul level that I actually take it forward to the next life. It's just like similar to being in a school. Once you learn what's taught in class 3, you are scaled to class 4. Once you learn what you are needed to know in class 4, you are scaled to class 5. In the same manner, the soul itself evolves. And how does the soul evolve? The soul learns more and more human values, human nature, the purified human nature, and what's called the sattvic tendencies, the righteous tendencies. Once they are developed by the soul moves to a newer level. And in the next life, the soul already displays, the particular individual with that soul will already display those qualities. So it's a very common phenomenon. Babies are born, they have certain tendencies, they'll probably they'll have liking towards certain things, they'll have disliking towards certain things. All these things actually happen at the soul level. And interestingly, this is observed even amongst twins. So twins also they have a varied interest because they are two different souls who come from two different directions based on their own pragya, that's the evolved consciousness. Now, vasana traditionally, it technically is interpreted as a sexual desire. But let me tell you that vasana is not only a sexual desire. Vasana means a deep desire for acquiring any particular kind of material or worldly pleasure. So vasana can be for eating some good food. Vasana can be enjoying some worldly riches. So they are all vasanas. So the soul also takes birth. The another factor which decides the type of birth, and all these three factors actually come in play together, not one of the factors. So pragya, then vasana, the desire. So suppose I have lived a life in a very poor family in my past life. So next time when I'm being born, suppose I have suffered a lot. So this time I'll see to it that I'm born into a family which is not suffering from poverty. So that's my vasana. Or I may like to be born into a royal family, or I may like to be born into a family which has a particular type of acquirements, some material acquirances. So that is my vasana. Sanskar is the impression on the mind. So let me just give you a very simple analogy. I don't know how many of you have actually heard the olden times record player, or what you call the gramophone. So the gramophone was actually a vinyl record, and the vinyl record actually carried impressions on it, very fine grooves. Those grooves, when they were read by electric needle, that needle used to transform that information in the groove in form of sound, and we all enjoyed that sound. That's the old gramophone. Now it's again back in vogue. So that record actually contained all those impressions. The impression is something like you write on a paper, write with a pencil, write with slight pressure on it, and you'll see that the impression of your writing has come on the other paper also, on the second page. That's the impression. In the same manner, whatever we do, whatever we think, whatever we see in one of the lives, if they are very, very deep emotional events, if they deeply impact us, we carry their impressions. And we carry these impressions to the next life also. This explains the childhood prodigies. Otherwise, modern learning and development charts presume that you need to have a 10,000-hour learning for developing expertise in certain things. Then how come you have kids of 4 years or 6 years playing a piano or playing a musical instrument? How come such young kids develop a expertise? How do you have those prodigal kids? So those prodigal children actually are carrying the impressions of that particular skill from the last life. So these three things, the pragya, the evolved consciousness, the vasana, and the sanskar, these three things actually cause the child to move in a particular direction. Just the way in physics, if you must have read, they are called vectors. So the vectors push you in different directions, and the resultant net movement or displacement happens in one particular direction. So in the same manner, the pragya, vasana, and sanskar make a baby choose a particular road. Another thing is interesting phenomena. When the consciousness and the soul takes a journey into the physical realm, the common concept is that people think that it's the mother who conceives. It's a very common question I often ask in my classes with the expecting women, that who conceives, and proudly they would immediately jump saying it's the mother who conceives. They are at times even puzzled that why is a medical doctor asking such a naive question, because it's so common that yes, it's the mother who conceives. Interestingly enough, the scriptures, and let me quote Srimad Bhagavatam, Kapil Gita. Interestingly, it is categorically and emphatically mentioned in the scriptures that the soul level conception happens to the father. So the soul actually looks for the father, and it's the father who does the cosmic conception, or the spiritual conception happens at the level of the father. And via the father, the soul moves to the mother, and then the soul grows, acquires a body, grows in the body. And so that's the way. So the most important thing, why it is important, is that actually underlines the important role father has to play in the birth of a child. So the father is not free from the birth of the child, just thinking that it's only the mother who has to impart the garbha sanskar, or only the mother's responsibility to impart good impressions or good impact on the baby's mind. Rather, the soul comes searching to the father, and the soul chooses the father, certain qualities of the father, certain attitudes of the father. So that's the way the soul moves to the father. Interestingly enough, as I already told you, that by the seventh day the growth occurs. The seventh day is the time when the soul has acquired the new home, and then it develops. If it doesn't, beyond the seventh day, if it doesn't occupy a particular cell, the formation of the fetus does not take place. Another thing is, it's interesting to note that modern medical science has convincing data to prove reincarnation. And it doesn't mean that only a single person can reincarnate. Reincarnation happens with all souls. The soul's journey is a constant journey. It's a circular journey. That's why in Hinduism we call it samsara. Samsara means a circular wheel. In Buddhism also they call it chakra. The sansar chakra means a cyclical movement. So the souls move in a cycle. They're born and die and born and die. Keep acquiring new bodies. Keep acquiring, rejecting those bodies and evolving themselves on a soul level, on a spiritual level. That's the whole purpose of life. Rest all is just a byproduct. So the soul begins with a new body because many times the body is non-usable as per the Gita, or the body is aged enough, body has degenerated, the soul has lived up a limited number of karmic effects in one particular life, or at times the karmic impacts which needs to be lived up are not enough for one life. Then also soul has to incarnate again and again and again. So, but the interesting part is that in the same manner as we are in a school, we learn basic arithmetic. We all understand what's the addition, what's the subtraction, multiplication, division, everything. So we actually forget the actual sums which are given to us. If I ask any one of you that do you know addition or subtraction, all of you will say, oh yes, of course, we all know addition, subtraction. But if I ask you that did you solve this particular sum in your class 3, you may or may not remember it. You'll say, I don't remember. Yeah, it's in the same manner, exactly in the same manner. We forget the story, but we keep the message. That's the way each of our life moves. So if in one particular life, we have a certain set of, let's call it a play or a drama. So that drama or that play, once it ends, the soul moves with the message. The message can be violence is bad. The message can be love is the most desired thing in life, and any such messages. So all such soul messages are carried, and that is why the soul needs a new body to now express the newly acquired spiritual knowledge as well as to refine and to evolve on a soul level further. That's the whole purpose of life. And this is proven beyond doubt. All of us are aware of Dr. Ian Stevenson's path-breaking research in reincarnation. Dr. Jim Tucker, a brilliant book, Return to Life, and then where biology and religion intersect by Dr. Ian Stevenson, then mysterious cases of reincarnation. So reincarnation is I often say in my talks that one fine day medical colleges will teach reincarnation because a lot of phenomena can be explained on reincarnation. Lot of phenomena can be lot of diseases, lot of psychosomatic disorders, lot of deep psychological issues, phobias, nightmares. So many issues can be solved purely on reincarnation. So reincarnation, and there have been cases where it has been accepted even in medical legal cases, in legal issues. So reincarnation is the most fundamental to the journey of soul, because the reincarnating soul carries the information with the past life. So this cycle continues. So now comes the yes, babies listen in the womb. So as per the scriptures, the Mahabharata or the fifth Vedic, we knew that Abhimanyu listened to the method of entering the Chakravyuh even at 3.5 to 4 months in womb. So that he was, let's call 16-week pregnancy. So this was always known to the ancient Vedic sages. That is why they insisted that a pregnant mother, expecting mother, must listen to good hymns, good prayers, good teachings, so that all those qualities, all those information and knowledge can be imbibed by the baby developing in the womb. So I say that when the eyes are closed, the mind is open. We all know that in the womb, the baby's eyes are closed. We all know when we are meditating, our eyes are closed. So when our eyes are closed, the mind is open. So, but the mind of the baby is absorbing information from all sides. And the sensory awareness is actually a state of heightened awareness. And this heightened awareness leads to information being stored for a longer duration of time. I always say that what a baby learns in 9 months cannot be erased even for 90 years. So the most conducive period of learning of a baby is the 9 months of pregnancy. So babies listen in the womb, and a bond is formed by the baby through sound. And interestingly, the modern research says that the baby also learns from father, and the father's words and the father's voice. The baby is already familiar to the father's voice even before being born. So babies are known to recognize their father's voice, and they can immediately note if their father is laughing or the father is cracking a joke or the father is telling a story. Interestingly enough, this phenomena is mentioned in the scriptures also, where the father is made to do penance before even desiring a child. The father needs to do some penance. So that is probably the reason, because the father. So what I always observe and I have shared with my students is the mother's thoughts are read by the baby. So the mother doesn't need to verbally communicate to the baby. The mother's thoughts are read directly by the baby. So the mother thinks my baby is going to be a dancer, the baby will immediately pick up dancing. The mother just thinks that my baby is going to be a painter, the baby will have tendency toward painting. But the father's voice, the baby is also very close to the father's voice. The baby listens to what the father says. So in particular, the prayers, the hymns, the sloths, all the knowledge should be imparted, preferably by the father in the womb. That has a deep impact on the baby. We all know about the story of Abhimanyu, who, while in the war, fought like an expert warrior at the age of 15 years and was killed collectively by 7 people. He fought so fiercely that a single person could not win him over. So 7 people decided to join hands, and then they were able to kill him. The son of Arjun, while his mother Subhadra was pregnant, she asked Arjun that, tell me how to enter the Chakravyuh and what is the Chakravyuh. Chakravyuh is a kind of a formation, typical battle formation, and it's very difficult to break that battle formation. So Arjun started describing how to enter the Chakravyuh, and Subhadra slept. And once she slept, Arjun stopped narrating the entire method. So Abhimanyu in the womb was listening intently to whatever his father was narrating. So he could listen to how to enter, how to get into that formation, but he did not know how to break that formation and come out of that formation. So sadly and unfortunately, he was killed in the fierce battle of Mahabharata. But this story is imprinted on the Indian mind, that the moment anybody displays, a child displays qualities which are strange, which one cannot learn in one life, it's said that you are Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu is a name that everybody is equated to prenatal learning. Somebody who has learned something of a level of expert just in the womb. So that's the story of Abhimanyu. The interesting part of the Abhimanyu story is that knowledge absorption is happening in the womb by the baby all the time, more so through the oral or the auditory method, because the eyes are closed, as I told. Second, the prenatal time is the most conducive time because the brain is almost like a wet clay, or let's say a wet cement. Any impression formed on the brain is eventually going to be hardwired, and the baby will retain it for long or probably for entire life. Third, a spiritual connection. Yes, there is definitely a spiritual connection, because without a spiritual connection, a baby is not going to come to your womb. So usually it's always the near and dear ones who are born together. So it's usually a past life friend, a past life spouse, a past life parent, a past life close relative who's born in the same family again. Because we all have karmic debts, karmic bondages, and soul connections with each other. And as I told, mother's desires and father's wisdom is passed on to the baby in the womb. Mother's desires, just by thinking, the mother is able to pass her thoughts, and father's wisdom by father's storytelling, father's talking, the way father talks to the baby. That all is transferred. Next, we all know about the story of Prahlad. Prahlad, interesting story goes in Bhagavad that once there was a fierce battle amongst the demons and the deities. So the devtas or the all the gods, they took over Hiranyakashyap, one of the main great demons' kingdom, and they tried to kill him. He ran away somewhere in hiding, but his wife, they were able to catch hold of his wife. His wife Kayadu was expecting. So the king Indra thought that the son who is in the womb of Kayadu is a demon's son. So it is good that the demon's son should be killed, otherwise there will be another demon, a menace for that. So he tried to take her away from there. And the great Rishi sage Narad appeared and he told that this is one of the worst sin that you can do, killing a baby in the womb. So then Indra said that I am killing the baby because the baby will definitely be a demon. So then Naradji said it's wrong. What you think is wrong. The baby is not what the father is, but the baby is what the baby learns in the womb. And there comes the basic scientific concept of Garbh Sanskar. And Naradji takes Kayadu, the pregnant mother Kayadu, in his ashram. And Naradji in that ashram teaches her stories of Lord Vishnu, the prayers, the hymns, all the glories of Lord Vishnu are sung to her. And interestingly, Prahlad in the womb itself becomes Bhakt Prahlad, or the great devotee Prahlad. And we all know one of the greatest devotee of Lord Vishnu, Prahlad was one of the greatest devotee. And how Prahlad eventually after his birth, the father himself, a demon, tried to kill him and could not kill him, and eventually himself was killed by Narsimha Avatar. So this story has two important information part. One, killing of a baby in the womb is one of the worst sin, unpardonable sin that can be done. Because the human life is the only realm from where the gateway to salvation exists. Salvation cannot happen in the life of a devata. Salvation cannot happen in the life of a demon. Salvation, the road, the gateway, the big gate, the entrance gate to salvation can be approached only in a human life. So a soul takes human life to work out the karmic bondage, and a soul takes human life to attain salvation. So killing of a baby in the womb is one of the first possible sin one can do. So, and the ultimate goal of life is salvation. As I told you, the unique role of father. So this is another mystical part where we all know that when Ashtavakra was in the womb, the sage Ashtavakra, the literal meaning of Ashtavakra is Ashta means 8 and Vakra means bent. So he was bent from eight sides. In his body, he had a deformity where his body, just like you have a club foot, they are bent at the ankles. In the same manner, his body was bent at 8 places. So why this happened? When he was in the womb, he tried to correct his own father. His father was chanting some Vedic hymn, and he immediately corrected his father that this is not the true meaning. The true meaning of the shlok or the verse is like this. The father got angry and cursed that while you are still in your womb, where you are bent from 8 parts, and you are lying in the womb of the mother and trying to correct your father, I curse you that even when you are born, you will be bent from 8 sides in the body. And he was a great Jivan Mukta Rishi, enlightened human being, and he was the one who was credited with imparting enlightenment to King Janak, the father of Masita. So this story also has a message that the father's role in shaping the child's destiny. So this story has a message that if the father gets angry at the unborn child, his anger can cause deformity in the baby's birth. So we all know that the father's negative emotions do play a role, because otherwise exclusively we think that it's only the mother's emotion, because as I told you, the mother's emotion are visible, the mother's womb is visible, the mother's pregnancy is visible, but the father's emotions, father's pregnancy, father's spiritual character is not visible, despite of the fact that spiritually it's the father who's important in the spiritual realm. So, and how are the babies born? So they're born because of the birth and karmic bondage. So the karmic bondage. So there are three reasons. As I told you, the pragya, vasana, and sanskar, and they come out for a rinanumand or the karmic debt. So they have a karmic debt with either of the parent. That's one major reason. Second is prarabdha. Prarabdha means the karma or the karmic collection, which is now need to be reaped in this particular. As you say, as you sow, you shall reap. In the same manner, what you have sown, a part of it is given for you to reap. So that reaping is the prarabdha. And the third part is the sanskar, as I told you, the impressions, the subtle and the explicit impressions on the baby's mind. So, in short, the scriptures tell us, the modern medicine now tells us, and rather the scriptures have already warned us that what you tell the baby in womb, the baby will teach it back to the world. So we have tried to collect all these information when we wrote the first book called Spiritual Secrets of Pregnancy and Childbirth, where we have that Garbhopadesha and the treatise on how the baby develops in the womb. And interestingly, it matches almost 90-95% with the modern embryology, how the baby's organs develop, what tendencies develop at what time. So the yogic teachings, then what the babies usually, what are the karmic reasons why they're born, what are the karmic debts which we owe, and how certain actions are damaging at the soul level. As I told you, killing a baby in the womb is a damaging action, which again causes major karmic bondages for the person who does it. So in the same manner, and the prayers which can be done by the mother and the father, and how they impact the baby. So that's all connected in the Spiritual Secrets of Pregnancy and Childbirth. And the recent edition is the World of Womb, where we have tried to put the complete set of physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. So if you wish to know more, you can gather that from these books. And thank you all for a patient listening. And now I think we'll go for the question answer session. Thank you, everyone.